That's good. I actually prefer this style where it's all included and it just flips out. And so I can operate everything kind of like this. The Z50 like flips down. That's so stupid. If it's sitting on a tripod, what are you gonna do? That's dumb. What's up, everybody? I'm Z-Wade, the Z-Wade, and Z-Wade Photo. And this year, a brand new year at the making of this video. It's the start of 2023, and brand new opportunities lie ahead. I decided to make this year about trying new things, and that is why today we are checking out a brand new camera. But hold up a second. I'm not talking just a brand new camera. I'm talking a brand new camera system. And the camera I have chosen to try out this new camera system is the Canon EOS R5. I have never actually owned a Canon camera before. I have held almost everything you can think of at various points of my photography journey, such as whenever I went from crop sensor to full frame, I could have gone Canon, and whenever I went from DSLR to mirrorless, I could have gone Canon. I just always stuck with Nikon. I do like my Nikon stuff, but I want to try new things this year. I want to see what the hype is about. Now, this camera is a couple years old, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad camera. Cameras like the D850 at this point are several 5-6 years old, and they're still great cameras. At the making of this video, I have heard very few negative things about the Canon EOS R5 as it regards to photography. Of course, it had the heating issues with the video, and I do video for my YouTube, but I am mostly a photographer, right? Not a video person. And if I decided to give up my YouTube channel tomorrow, I would still be shooting photography. So I may very well be shooting this as a photography camera. Opening up the box here, of course, we have got the charger, and it's got a flip out piece. That's good. I actually prefer this style where it's all included and it just flips out like that. I don't like the modular kind of thing. I think it's just one more thing to get lost. Looks like we have got some kind of USB-C to USB-C, and then of course the cable control clip thing. We do have the instructions, and normally with really expensive things, I do say that if you can afford this, you probably don't need the manual. That really only applies to lenses, and I may very well need this because I'm not a Canon ecosystem person. Either way, we set all that to the side because we keep all our boxes, so we'll set this plastic to the side, set the charger to the side, set the cables to the side. Actually, I think real quick, I want to go ahead and get the battery charging. It's got this nice little clip thing on it. It's an LPE6NH. Whatever that is. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments below if you have an EOS R5 or if you're thinking about getting one. And if you do have one, what do you think of it? We're gonna set that off to the side. Trying to keep my beard away from the mic. My beard's getting very long at the holiday season, so my barbers haven't really called them. Of course, we have the silly included neck strap. I say it's silly. I assume it's silly because the ones that come with Nikons are silly. I don't use these. I have, you know, side slings and my Coral dual camera strap, and that's what I use. But we're going to keep it because if I decide I don't like this and I'm going to get rid of it, the next person may want this. Always keep your stuff. And now we get to the main event, and that is the EOS R5. Actually, I want to mention real quick that I did almost save myself the money and get the EOS R6. My friend, 247 Media, Amar, 247 Media Group, he actually offered to sell me his because he's selling his for a really good deal. And while I appreciated the offer, I wanted to make sure that I got something that was close to what I normally shoot, which is 45 megapixels. I'm going to be comparing this a lot to the Z9 just to see, you know, how they stack up, you know, 1-to-1. And I wanted to be able to do that accurately. And just in case I fall in love with Canon's mirrorless system, then I'll have something that I can start shooting work with like right away. We remove it from the plastic, and it does have a decent weight to it. It's bigger than I remember than I remember it being. We have the fully articulating screen. I don't really care. This does make things easier. Right now I'm recording on the Nikon ZFC, and it is nice to be able to see myself because I don't always feel like, you know, throwing on the battery hog Atomos Ninja 5. And so this is kind of nice to have. And, you know, some of them, like flip down, like I think one of the Sony cameras, like it flips down, or maybe one of the Z50 like flips down. That's so stupid. If it's sitting on a tripod, what are you going to do? That's dumb. But anyway, this, let's see how this feels. This right here, this hinge feels kind of cheap. It feels good opening and closing it, but it feels kind of cheap. I'll say that. And this also doesn't feel like a very good, well, I guess it's okay. It doesn't feel like it really clicks in there, you know, super tight. Looking at some of the other buttons here, the on-off switch is nice and clicky. Most of the buttons don't have a click to them. It's kind of what I'm used to. This control wheel, whatever this does, because I'm not a Canon user, that feels pretty good. The joystick feels pretty good. AF on, nice and firm. Whatever those buttons do, we'll find out. Those feel pretty firm. The M function, multifunction, that feels pretty good. Shutter button feels kind of familiar to the Nikons. Command dial feels good. This back command dial feels a little bit cheap and cheesy. And actually, as I move it, the mode dial, or the little mode button, that thing actually tilts like that as I turn the command dial. So that's kind of, I don't know, that's like a little bit flimsy looking, but I mean, it feels okay. The Nikon Z5 has a bit of a kind of a stickiness to it if you go in at like an angle. And so, let's see if I can do this. If you're doing this on the Z5, it's totally fine. But if you kind of come up on like a higher angle, it kind of, like that, and it's really scary. But overall, I mean, it feels kind of like I would expect it to feel, because like mirrorless cameras, for the most part, just don't have like a robust feel to them, except for the Z9. The Z9, it has like a nice feel to it. And I don't know if it's because it's actually built better or if it's just because it's a heavy brick. I'm not particularly used to this kind of command dial being on top. Now, on the Nikons, I like it because my shutter finger is actually my pointer finger, and the command dial is right here. And so I can operate everything kind of like this, and then I shoot with this. So on this one, I would have to get used to doing this and shooting with my ring finger, and I don't know. It's not bad. It's not a bad camera, like ergonomically. Let's take a look at that sensor. Oh, we can't because the sensor, or the shutter, is actually down protecting the sensor. I like that. The Nikon Z9 is the only one that does that. The other ones are just open all the time. It's fine. I mean, I don't have any dust on my sensors, but if I can get this dang thing back on. Oh, that's right. I forgot. So with Canons, it's actually the opposite of Nikon. So this twists this way to come out, and on the Nikons, it's the opposite way. That's something I'm going to have to get used to. All in all, I like the cold feel of the top plate. Like I said, it feels pretty good. It's got the same kind of texture as the Nikon mirrorless system has, right? So it looks familiar to the Nikons, more familiar than I thought it would. The eye piece here seems nice and firm. And actually, I will say, I like this diopter a lot better than the Nikons, because the Nikons have this corny little thing that like you pull and you twist it and then you push it back in. But like when you pull it out, it feels cheap AF, right? And so this is the way it used to be on like my D610 and pretty much every other camera I had before the mirrorless. I like this a lot better. It's really low profile. You don't have to push. It's not going to break off or anything. The Nikons will break off. That diopter switch will, I promise you. I'd love to see the ratio of which those forgot to push back in and just snap off. Other than that, it feels like a pretty solid camera. What I really don't like is only having one function button up here. That's really cornball. I would like to have at least two, because I don't use the 3 that are on the Nikon Z9, but 2 of them for sure. I like to set up one to where it brings up my like my rule of thirds square, you know, I like bringing that up. And then the other one does like a depth of field preview, which I don't use for depth of field, but I use for seeing what the scene actually looks like whenever I'm using flash, right? And so I have that set up to whenever I push it, it basically turns off the automatic where everything's illuminated when you're using flash. It turns that off and I can actually see what the scene really looks like. And I can make adjustments to expose for the background using the benefit that mirrorless cameras bring you of seeing your exposure. I just hold that, make my adjustments, right? Get the background looking at the exposure that I like, then I let go, and then it brings up the annoying everything illuminated. Boom, I start rocking off pictures. So I would like to be able to have another one up there, but you know, if I have to choose one, it's probably just going to be, you know, the depth of field preview. If that's an option in here, I'm sure it is. All of my regular subscribers, take a guess at what lens I got to go with this. It's not going to be in this video, but just take a guess if you guys know me. And if you're a Canon shooter and it's your first time here, I do hope you'll consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to see what lens that you'll be familiar with that I chose to be the test lens for the Canon EOS R system. That's it, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.